Alright you guys, well today I have for you this 2023 Nissan Rogue. Take you around this SUV. And as you can see, it's got pretty sharp styling to it. The front end is a little weird in my opinion, but it's okay, it's decent. Keep going on the sides here. It's got a pretty decent profile to it. You do got these 18-inch wheels. We'll pop the trunk. It actually has this new Nissan key, which actually looks really nice in my opinion, but we'll pop the trunk here. This is an SV with the premium package, so you do get that power lift gate right there. And it's a pretty decent cargo area. It's not going to be like super spacious like a minivan or something, but it's okay for a compact SUV. And you do get a nice big spare tire under here, a full-size spare. That's nice to have. And if you reach in, you can fold the seats down with these tabs right here. They just kind of fold down flat and gives you a little more room. It's pretty easy to do, but we'll close up the tailgate here. And it's actually a pretty fast closing tailgate. As you can see, we'll try out these back seats right here. Fold the seat back up, and back seat, as you would expect, it's pretty roomy. Definitely it feels roomier than the previous generation in my opinion. I've sat in the previous Rogue before. This one just feels a little roomier, a little nicer back here. You do get these nice sunshades, but we'll show you guys under the hood real quick. All right, so this is a kind of an interesting engine. It's a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder. Kind of interesting. Never driven a 3-cylinder engine before, especially in an SUV, but it makes 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. Pretty average numbers, not very powerful, but still powerful than the last generation that made like 172 or something like that. A slight improvement there. And this engine does get good gas mileage. I believe this Rogue gets like 30 in the city, 37 highway. So it's actually a pretty efficient engine. But we'll talk more about that when we get this thing out on the road. All right, let's hop in. Start button is in kind of a weird spot. It's all the way down here. Not a big deal, but just not very conventional. Startup is very quiet in here. And sitting in this interior, you know, material quality is pretty good actually. I'm pretty impressed with it. You got these nice big controls. Everything in here is different from the older Nissans. You don't get the same old like Nissan switchgear. These turn signal stalks, they're different. The shifter is different. Everything is kind of a new generation of Nissan. So I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that they're sort of changing their style a bit. You got this new Nissan logo also. You got this weird shifter, push up to go into reverse. There's your backup camera. It's pretty decent, but you push down on the side, push down for drive. It's actually pretty easy to use. You just get a little button for park right here. It's not bad, although the shifter is kind of cheap feeling. For being this cool design, I thought it would be a little more high quality, but it kind of creaks a lot when you like move it in between gears. So it's not like quite my favorite in that way, but it is like a nice intuitive design. Just kind of pull back, push up. You do get your auto parking brake right here, and also your brake hold for stop and go traffic, but we'll push those off right there. You do get a USB-C, a USB-A, and a car charger outlet, and you also get heated seats. You get a heated steering wheel. This Rogue SV premium package gives you a lot of this stuff, and you also get this nice panoramic sunroof which will open, and that's also a feature of the premium package. It's pretty nice to have. You got this nice center screen. It's pretty typical. It doesn't do a whole lot of things. Just shows like your audio, your phone, your Bluetooth. You'd think camera would pull up your camera, but it doesn't. It just brings up the camera settings. That's kind of funny. But Not much else. It does have Apple CarPlay though, which is nice. On the steering wheel, you do get your little Pro Pilot self-driving mode. You also get voice commands, you get your volume, next track. You do get a little center screen in the gauge cluster. If you step up to the highest Rogue Platinum, you do get a full digital display in here, as well as a slightly bigger screen. But this is just like sort of the analog gauges and the screen in the middle. And it looks pretty good. It just, again, does your typical stuff like tire pressure, music, that sort of thing, shows your speed, not much else. You also get some drive modes with this dial, kind of an interesting dial. And so you do get a few different modes. You get sport, eco, auto, snow, and off-road. Start off in auto for right now. I think I'll put it in sport mode later. And you do get this nice center console. Has a very nice opening to it, and it's actually a pretty big center console, so happy to say that. It's also kind of funny, I just noticed when I put it in park, it goes through all the gears before going to park. Like, it goes up neutral, reverse, and then park, kind of like a normal car. That's kind of interesting. But I think we'll get this thing out on the road and talk about how it drives here. It does decently over this gravel road right here. Doesn't feel like I'm braking the car driving over this. All right. I was kind of interested to see how a 3-cylinder engine drives. And it's about what you would expect for only 3 cylinders. Definitely doesn't have like a sporty sound to it. This Nissan Rogue also, I'm used to it now, but when I first started driving it, this car felt a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. It almost feels like a mid-size SUV when you're sitting behind the wheel. I think it's like just something to do with like the styling or like how the dash looks or something. Because it is like roughly the same dimensions as the previous Nissan Rogue. But yeah, it does feel like pretty big from behind the wheel and feel like you're pretty high up. I was like behind a Ford Escape earlier. I felt like I was like a lot higher up than the Ford Escape. So it's kind of interesting, like a nice seating position in here. I was sort of hoping that the new Nissan Rogue would be a little bit sportier than the last generation. And it's not really any sportier. They kind of, if anything, they kind of capitalized on that comfort isolated aspect of it. So they didn't really make it any sportier to drive, which it's not really designed for that. It is, you know, just a typical compact SUV. I'll try out the power though real quick. All right, it gets up decently when you really get on it. Accelerator has a really long travel actually, but it's pretty smooth. It gets up okay. But yeah, as I was saying, I noticed it is like weirdly isolated from the road. It's like kind of a strange sensation that I haven't felt in other cars. It's like it was like designed to make you feel like you're not doing anything. It kind of feels like you're just sitting in the car, but not really driving it. I mean, steering, it's very soft, points very straight. I'm barely doing anything to it. Stepping on the brakes, it's a very like easy, like soft brake pedal, stops very smoothly. Just really like easy for the most part. Steering is quite light, pretty numb. It does have a little bit of vagueness on center with the steering. It's not the most precise on center, I've noticed, but it is like pretty consistent. It's pretty luxurious. Car points like nice and straight. It goes where you want it to go. But it's also just a very isolated steering. The accelerator pedal is also just a little bit vague. It responds decently. It's not like you have to like floor it to get the car to do something, but it's also just a little bit vague. Like if you put your foot down, okay, well, it responded okay there. But it is just like a little bit kind of delayed in the throttle. When you first start out, there is like an inch of pedal travel before the car seems to really just wake up. And that's kind of another thing I want to talk about with this 3-cylinder CVT combination. This powertrain is a little non-linear. It has a lot of that like rubber band kind of feeling when you go to start out. Like nothing, and then like the car takes off really quick all of a sudden. Like when you put like a 3-cylinder turbo paired with a CVT, it does feel a little strange. Like see, like it's like nothing, and then it kind of like launches forward like that. I do like the brakes. They're very smooth and very easygoing. But yeah, a CVT and throttle combination isn't quite my favorite. It's not that it's like horrible or anything, but it is just a little bit delayed, a little unresponsive. It has those kind of simulated gear shifts where it kind of tries to feel like a more traditional automatic transmission, and it's also not really the best execution. The shifts feel a little strange, but I don't want to say that it's like horrible or like impossible to drive. It's still decent. It does have some decent mid-range power to it. Not a lot, but it does kind of get up and go pretty smoothly and easily when you want it to. Yeah, I like a car with nice predictable brakes though, and this car definitely does that right. Oddly enough, this car does seem to like turn heads a bit. I feel like people definitely sort of notice this car more than I would expect. A lot of people seem to like how this car looks, which I wasn't expecting for a Nissan Rogue. I always thought these were kind of like invisible cars, but I guess like the styling of this one is pretty unique and interesting. Yeah, I will say I like the easygoing nature of this car. It's got a very smooth ride, easy to pick a constant speed. It really glides right down the road, so I do like that aspect of it. It's pretty refreshing, pretty relaxing. When you drive more sporty cars, you find that they just kind of beat you up a lot on the road. This car isn't like that. It's got just like a very smooth, settled ride. Kind of just glides right over the bumps. So it's pretty refreshing. It's pretty nice. I think we will check out our turning radius right here. We're just gonna cut the wheel all the way. All right, and it's pretty average, pretty normal in the turning radius. Visibility in here is pretty good too. Front hood doesn't really get in the way at all. These pillars are a little bit big, I will say. Side mirrors are really good though, and back window is pretty good. A little small, but still not bad. Try out the handling. And, you know, it's got nice, smooth, composed handling. It's not too bad. There's not like a ton of body roll or anything like that. It is a little bit heavy in the corners, as you would expect. Not quite the lightest, sportiest thing in the world, obviously. So it's like, on one hand, it's pretty softly sprung, but on the other hand, it's nice and smooth, nice and composed. We'll try some more corners up here. Yeah, you know, it's not bad. It does a decent job. It's not very engaging or anything. Like, steering is quite soft, quite light. But it's okay. Handles bumps and dips in the road, like, really well. You hear some engine, you hear some wind, tire noise, but it's all like nice and muted. It's respectable, I'd say. We'll try putting it in sport mode. And I noticed sport mode, it does tune up the throttle just slightly, but it's not like anything crazy. It's not a huge improvement in sport mode. Just a slight better response. It is a bit jumpy when it hits that power band. Kind of lurches forward just a little bit. But it's pretty decent, actually, at getting up to highway speeds. Try some passing power. And it actually has decent torque when you're passing. So it's a little bit better than the previous Rogue in terms of that. It's a little loud in terms of wind noise, but seems to handle pretty smoothly, pretty confidently. We'll try taking our off ramp here, see how it does. It's actually pretty smooth, pretty consistent, pretty good, honestly. That actually wasn't bad for an SUV. Definitely been in worse. Alright, you guys. I think I will end the video a little bit up here. Engine does sound a little strange. I'm not crazy about this engine note. It's a decently peppy car, but it's also a little bit, just a little bit unresponsive at the same time. I think it could be a little sharper in the overall response of the vehicle. But I think we'll park it right here. All right. Put it in park. And Yeah, you know, I liked this car better than I thought I would, though. I actually like this interior a lot. I like this material quality that they did in here. I like sort of like the brown dash. I like these nice leatherette sort of seats you get. It's a pretty softly sprung vehicle, but at the same time, I kind of like that. It's pretty refreshing. It's very easygoing, very smooth, very relaxing to drive. I like sort of like this modern switchgear that they put in here. Refreshing compared to other Nissans that have just been using like the same switchgear for 20 years. This is like nice, all this new stuff in here. And just a very nice, easygoing kind of vehicle. But yeah, I think that about covers this 2023 Nissan Rogue. We're gonna shut it off and we'll hop out. All right, thanks for watching, everyone.